you may be wondering what is going on here. Why do I have a bunch of devices here? And so I figured that would be easier for me to show you guys what this device actually is, what this Bluetooth keyboard input thing is. So here we have one of these devices connected to each of these 3 devices. And what this is just one of these ESP32s, the tiny ones, since we only need Bluetooth and USB access. Now, to make this kind of more visual, I'm going to be showing it to you on the Android app rather than the desktop, because the desktop app is just like basically a bunch of scripts and the Android app is more visual. So say you find yourself in a situation where you have 3 devices and you want to share a password, like the Wi-Fi password, between them all. Well, with this system, what you can do is you can head over to your password manager, copy this thing, then head over to the app. And so we will enter this password now for each of these devices. So first we'll head over to the ThinkPad. So I'll just connect to the ThinkPad right now. And then once this garbage goes away, I can press this paste button and it pastes it in and then enters the thing here. And as you can see here, it's also it doesn't show like the whole thing. So if you're actually using your real password, it will just show the first 3 letters for security reasons. So now we can disconnect for this thing. We can head over to the phone. So connect to the phone here. Then we can paste the thing here and you can see it typing away. Then we can disconnect here and go to the TV, which is this thing. I'm just reusing devices for the demo. And then type it in here and you can see, type it in there very quickly. Now, while we're at the Windows thing, you could also do some cool stuff. So if you have heard of Ducky script, we support this here. Well, actually, before that, we also support the the trackpad, like so. So you have right click, middle click, and then you have the back and forward buttons here as well. So, if I press this back, it goes, back in the browser. So yeah, that is pretty handy. You can also scroll, like so, using the 2 fingers. So basically like a trackpad. But anyway, if I head over to scripts, here we have a Windows 11 script. What does this do? Well, if we go in here, we can actually edit the script here, or you can import a txt file. But anyway, what this does is we'll press the Windows key, it will type in cmd, and then it'll type in the shutdown command. This is how you shut down like your Windows 11 PC kind of remotely, which is pretty cool. So now we disconnect because the computer is off. Next thing is, go back here, I suppose. So this device here is freshly factory resetted. So, which means that it's not in this list. So if you plug it in, what you'll see is we have sort of a provisioning kind of flow, I suppose. So here, what you want to do is you want to hit plus, and then you'll see a list of every Bluetooth device that your phone can find. And by default, these things are defaulted to ESP32KB. And so yeah, you just want to press this and notice that you can connect to it. And so I can type stuff in here. Then I can send it here, and you can see hello types out. You also have keyboard, so you can type keyboard here like so, which is grand, and you can run the scripts as well. So yeah, like for example, the AFK script, this basically runs forever if I increase this to like 2000. And so yeah, if I run this script, all it does is it just types out something basically to keep your computer on. And once you're kind of back, you can just stop script, and then it will, you know, stop in place. That's how you kind of turn off the AFK script. So yeah. But anyway, what we need to do is we need to provision this device, because right now anybody can connect to this. So for example, if I were, well, anybody can connect to it provided you're not connected here. So what I mean is, if I disconnect from the device, and you see it'll turn red. So you were seen before, it flashes blue when it's connected. But anyway, if I open the same app here, I can also find it, and I can also connect to it. And this isn't really great, because now, you know, people can use your device. So we would need to provision it. That way this phone won't be able to use your devices. It also makes it more secure, because how the app layer security works on this, it uses the key to kind of like initiate the session. So this way anybody can initiate the session. But anyway, so we actually have it added to the list here because we connected it to it once. So yeah, now we're here. Okay, so let's actually provision them. So the alias is just whatever comes up in the app. You can set this to whatever you want, doesn't really matter. Now the next thing, the BLE name, this is actually what shows up when you scan for devices. So if I were to, you know, open Bluetooth settings on my PC here, it would actually show this name, so you can put whatever you want for this. Now this is the secret key. You can set this manually, but I recommend just generating one. Now the next thing is the USB vendor and the PID and the manufacturer name and the serial number. So this is all kind of USB settings. So when you plug this device into the PC USB, it will display these settings or these kind of info. This is what it will identify your device as. So for example, if you want to spoof like a Microsoft keyboard, what you would do is you put in Microsoft here for the manufacturer name, you will put the serial number of the keyboard, and you'll put the VID and PID of the keyboard as well. So this is handy. I haven't come across this situation myself, but I heard that in some mad companies, they actually limit what USB devices are allowed. So this way you can spoof a USB device that's allowed, and you can continue using this. But anyway, in our case, we don't need to touch this. We can just leave it as default and then hit provision. Now you'll see that this becomes disconnected. And we are back here. Now we can connect to test. As you can see, we're connected. Now you will notice that we're missing the trackpad. Well, this is because this is a different setting. So how this works is, well, why it's a different setting is because when you plug the device into your PC, the computer can tell what the hell is going on, basically. So right now, it thinks this is only a keyboard, right? However, if we enable the mouse, the computer will think that it's a keyboard and a mouse. So yeah, you can do that crazy stuff with USB, which is pretty cool. But like I said earlier, if you're emulating specifically a Microsoft keyboard, then obviously a Microsoft keyboard isn't going to be a mouse as well. So that's that's where that logic basically comes from. So you need to restart it so that this thing can plug itself back in and then tell the PC that it's also a mouse. So now we can use the mouse here. You can see it here like so. And it is fairly smooth. So yeah, there's no latency. So the mouse movements are actually not encrypted. So whenever you send like the keyboard here, or you send text, all that's encrypted, but the mouse isn't because, well, first of all, you can't really, you know, get any valuable information as such where a guy clicked, if you know what I mean. Like, you aren't going to steal his password by knowing how he moved his mouse. And also, if I added encryption to the mouse, it won't be as smooth as this, so it's just kind of like a trade-off. Maybe in the future I'll add a setting where you can encrypt the mouse if you want to, for kind of a slower input. But yeah, if I disconnect from this thing, I'll just remove this thing. I should be able to find it here. So yeah, you can see I found the device as test, and if I try to connect, so it's gonna fail. It's gonna say that the PSK mismatch. So this just means that you don't actually have the secret key to get in here, basically. Now, to fix that is actually fairly easy. So, or I mean, to share this device with this phone is fairly easy, is what I meant to say. So here, if we connect back to it, if we go here, and if we go provision device, but don't provision the device, just copy this thing. So we copied it. And then if we disconnect here, so we have it saved in our clipboard. And if we grab any other device, any other one of these, and we plug them into here, like so. Right. So if we try to connect to the test again, it will say that it failed after a while. Okay, well, it just failed. It just failed outright. So let's see, it should bring up that dialog where it says you need to input your USB. Yeah, so here it is. So now we just put in the alias of test, and for the PSK, what we can do, since we have one of these connected to our yoke, the main one, we can connect to this one, and then we can simply paste this from our phone, like so, and then we save and connect. And then, as you can see, we're now connected to this device. So if I go to trackpad, you can see that I'm moving it here. Now, there is an easier way to do this if you don't have two of these kind of devices between each other, because that is, I admit, that is a bit weird. But anyway, if you disconnect here, and then if we go back here, see, you have this upload and you have this download button here. So if we hit the upload, or yeah, here, or actually no, if we hit the download button to save it, sorry, my fucking the screen recording timer is in the way. Hang on, let me try and trigger it. Okay, here we go. So yeah, if we just save it to downloads, it saves it as a file here. And then you can share this file with your other devices. So you would, so for example, if I were to delete test here, then if I were to upload this, import these devices, and then here you can see the test is back here, and we should be able to connect to it. And we can indeed. So yeah, that would be how you would share devices. Make sure you kind of send that file securely though over to the other phone, because it does have the PSK in it. Anyway, while we're here, we might as well take a look at what's going on here. So, oh yeah, actually, before I do that, if we go into the settings here, so take a look at the settings first because I kind of glossed over these. So currently, keyboard layout, we support US and British. For now anyway, we'll probably support more later, but these are just the two that I use personally. Now for the target OS, you have two options. You have Mac OS and you have other. Now this is mostly for the British keyboard because Mac OS kind of treats the British keyboard very strangely. So for example, if I were, can't think of an example right now, but if I were to hit like a key combo, that should output, the hash sign or whatever. On macOS, this is actually different. This is a different key combo than on every other operating system. So that's why you have other and macOS. Another interesting thing is ENGB actually doesn't work with Android for some reason. Android somehow only has ENUS despite whatever you pick inside your keyboard. So it kind of, any external keyboard, it just maps it to ENUS anyway, despite it, even if you set it in settings. So even if you set your keyboard, your physical keyboard to ENGB in Android settings, it still treats it as ENUS for some reason. So for Android, make sure that you always select ENUS and OS other, and it'll work fine. Okay, so next settings here are keystroke delays. So this is meant to mimic kind of more human input. So I'll actually show you what these look like with the long string. So yeah, this is the PSK of the test thing. So if I were to paste this like 3 times, and yeah, I suppose you can see it here. So if I were to send it as is, right now, you can see it is fairly quick. Okay, this might have been a bit too long a string, but anyway, it is fairly quick. But if we go to here and we just crank these down to 0, apply delays, and if we send it, you see how fast that is? So basically that's what that is. So I'll explain what the hell this actually is, because why are there 4? So the gap, we'll start with that. The gap is the delay between after you pressed and released the key, and then this is the time between you press and release a second key, for example. So yeah, I suppose I should explain the second one then. So the hold delay is how long you're pressing a key for. So for example, here, if I were to press and hold this key for like 5 seconds, you see the way it's like repeating. So this is what the hold is. So if I were to like put in something here like just hello. So let me clear some white space. So if I just type this normally, right? It just types it out, hello, just like normal. However, if I increase the minimum hold delay to like 200, okay, well, 200 is the maximum I can do here. And I think you might see some words repeating, although I think 200 milliseconds is a bit too slow, or a bit too fast. Yeah, so it's a little bit too fast to kind of notice it. But anyways, you can see that it is typing slower. So what it's doing, it's actually pressing, hello, and then releasing it after 200 kind of milliseconds. Yeah, I should probably increase that to kind of show a bit of a better demonstration, but you would want to keep the hold value as kind of low enough, like so. so that you don't trigger this behavior here where it repeats a key, because you know you obviously don't want keys repeating while you're typing password and whatnot. And so the hold here, or the min and the max, means that if you set this as minimum 14 milliseconds and maximum 200 milliseconds, each time a hold event occurs, a random number will be generated between 14 milliseconds and 20 or 200, and then that number will be used as the actual delay. So this is just kind of to simulate more realistic human typing. And then the min gap, so if we set all this to 0, this will actually probably look pretty much identical. But the min gap is basically if you press H, you wait 200 milliseconds, and then you press the next letter, like so. So if I apply these delays, it will probably be, you know, identical to what it was before. Yeah, pretty much. And so if I were to apply both of these delays, like maximum, there'll be like a 400 millisecond delay now. So you can see that it's a lot slower now at typing. Now where this shines is if we do this completely random. So we set the minimum to like 20 and the min hold to like around 20 as well. Apply delays. You should see that this looks a bit more human now. Yeah, so you can see that sometimes it's like a little bit faster. And so yeah, I usually set it to something like this to kind of mimic sort of human delays, but also to type fast enough. So now if you type it, it's like, you know, a bit more realistic, I suppose. Right, so anyway, apart from that, we also have the firmware version. You can also see the firmware version of all of the devices here at the end. So yeah, you have, yes, I need to update the firmware version of some of them, Jesus. But yeah, the latest firmware version is 1.5 on the ThinkPad, so this is the latest one. Yeah, so the other things here, so obviously the alias is what you have here as the kind of top one. Then the second one is your Bluetooth name. And then the third one is your chosen layout. You can change this, by the way, but this is just what is currently set. And your chosen operating system as well. So in this case, say you're constantly switching between ENUS on the Mac and ENGB on the everything else, basically. So instead of going in here, oh wait, yeah, this is the test one, okay. I don't know why that failed to connect, but anyway. So instead of going in here all the time and changing it here, what you can do is you can actually clone these. So as you can see, I have clone here at the top, where I have ENGB for other OS and ENGB for Mac OS with this one here, main device here. So to clone it, all you do is just copy this thing, and then you can change the name to whatever you want. So this will be test US, let's say. The layout will be US. Then this will be macOS. So if we clone that, you see the device here, we can connect to it. And if the app doesn't fucking fail, it connects to it. So you can see by the blue light. And now we can type ENUS with the ENUS layout. So one of these might fail. Yeah, so as you can see here, I typed in a hash sign, but it gave me a pound sign because I'm on the ENUS layout with the macOS layout as well. So if I were to connect to this guy, and then if I were to type out the hash sign again and send it, as you can see now, it sends the proper hash sign. So yeah. This also depends, like this layout shit also depends on what layout you're using on your actual laptop. So this is using ENGB, by the way. Yeah, so that's why the ENUS was a little bit fucked up. Okay. So yeah, this is oh yeah, there's kind of one more thing, I suppose. So for the scripts, you can import txt, or here you can either edit or you can export. So you can export them here, for example. So we already have Windows 11 off, but fuck it, I override it. And then if I were to delete this thing, all right, so now the script is gone, I can import or deleted one, save it there, and okay. The fucking recording on this is getting in the way because all my buttons here are in the corner, but it's also the same place where this screen recorder app is as well. So I think I need to rotate the phone, save it like this, and then go back. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I don't know why Samsung fucking sticks this thing inside here. It's so bad, like, Jesus. Okay, well, anyway, Samsung issues aside. Oh, yeah. So you can also factory reset these things. You need to make sure that I'm on the right one. So yeah, factory reset will, allow you to, if you don't want to share the PSK, you can set it up on another device. So once you hit that, it will delete it from your list, but if you have the clone, it obviously won't delete it. Well, it won't delete the clone because it treats it kind of like a separate device, but you can just delete it like that. And now we have this thing here, so we can connect to it again. And it also resets the USB mouse thing as well. So, oh yeah, I should mention that the firmware version in the device table, it only gets updated once you connect to the device. So what could happen here is if you clone the device and you updated the firmware and you connected to it again with one of the profiles, it won't update the firmware version here. It only update after you connect. So yeah, that's kind of it is how it is, If you completely like deleted this app and you want a factory reset, you can do it with the web tool. Now I'll probably make another video on how to flash like firmware updates and all that stuff, and then I'll show you how to factory reset them there as well. Thank you for watching. Hopefully some of you try this out because it is pretty cool shit, like